Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today to learn our favorite trauma clearing techniques. I'm Connie Shaw, and this is my husband, Jim Wright. Jim is going to mention the disclaimer.
As you know by now, these are educational programs. They're presented for you to learn about new ideas and new techniques, and perhaps to experiment with them and see how they work in your lives. However, if you have any health issues whatsoever, you're advised to seek help from your professional healthcare practitioners.
Thank you, Jim. Now we'll say a silent prayer before this very exciting program. Amen. Now we will see a chart, brief versus conventional therapies. Conventional therapies actually treat, but don't necessarily clear. They can be lengthy or repetitive. They can also be costly, and they can be provider dependent. Brief therapies, which have been around for the past 50 years and are gaining momentum all over the planet. Number one, clear. They're brief, short. They're not costly, and they're self-empowering. You can do them yourself, or you can have a friend or loved one do them with you, or you can even use them with animals. Now then, we're going to talk about the techniques that we're using. This is a non-violent technique. All three of them are, in fact. So that is, on your part, do not have any violent thoughts. So be detached from anger, vengeance, and resentment. They can be used against experiences you had, which were, as the recipient, violent. But on your part today, you don't need to have any emotional coloration toward the person that you're clearing. Number two, the new intention is, you have no power over me. And that means this thought, these feelings or emotions, the recollection, the vision, the memory, or any person or group. You have no power over me anymore. Number three, this is like cutting the ties that have had control over you, but instead of taking 2 weeks to do that, this takes 2 minutes. Or if you repeat it, then it can take 4 minutes or even 6. But the point is, they're very, very quick and extremely effective. And then number four, what was the image you worked on? Was it agonizing? Was it horrifying? Was it painful or difficult? So have that in mind so that you can discuss it after the process is over. All right, now Jim is going to read the general instructions chart.
So this is deep, fast, powerful work, and everyone's release time is different. You can keep your issue to yourself, or you can briefly state the context to the person who's helping you. Don't do it while you're driving or operating any heavy equipment or machinery, or while you're using any kind of sharp implements. Wait an hour after you've done this before you do driving or anything like that. Also, on yourself, you can do one process a day, or at most 2, several hours apart. Your nervous system is processing these things. You may get excited and want to do one, and then another, and then another, and another. Please resist doing that and do only one a day. That's really the best. Now, you can do 4 or 5 in a week on yourself, or even with help. But notice how you try to distract yourself from letting these things settle in. In other words, when you do one, you distract yourself by wanting to go on to something else rather than letting any change settle in for your inner peace. For example, you might want to tell everyone you know about what's going on, or you want to learn other processes right away without practicing this one thoroughly on yourself and others, practice, 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 we always say.
I'm ready to go with blinking now, Jim.
Okay, and I'm happy to help you with that.
Thank you.
So what is your project for today?
My project, which means something I'd like to work on with Jim, is the violent teacher. And this is when I was 12 years old in the 7th grade, and a violent teacher is about to hit me on the head with a heavy yardstick, and will do the same to every other student in the class. Now, I am giving this scene, as I recall it, an intensity number of 9, and I would like to reduce that, Jim, to a 1 or a 0. So I'm ready to begin now. I have it in mind.
Okay, so I want to make sure you have it very clearly in your mind.
Yes.
And you said it's a 10.
No, I said it's a 9.
Oh, it's a 9. Okay.
Yes.
And this, what you have in view is before, just before this happens, correct?
Right. The teacher's arm is raised before it comes down on my head.
Okay, and it's a 9.
It's a 9, and now I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to blink.
Now, what I'd like you to do
Yes.
is slide that image of what's about to happen off to the right side or the left side, but off to the side, out of your direct field of view.
All right. I'm taking it to the side now.
Okay? And if you were doing this yourself, you could be looking at the second hand of a clock while you're blinking.
Right.
But I'm going to time you.
All right.
And everyone who is watching, I would like for you to have brought a similar kind of situation into your minds, into your vision, and have given that an intensity number, an emotional intensity number for you. Then you slide it off to the side, slightly out of your view. And now Connie and everyone watching will begin blinking about once per second for 2 minutes.
And then, Jim, you're going to tell me at the end of a minute, good, keep blinking for another minute, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here, ready for me to begin?
Yes.
All right.
Begin blinking. That's 1 minute. Keep on blinking. Okay, that's the end of 2 minutes.
All right.
Now, why don't you see whether you can see that teacher way off to the side and bring him back into the center of your screen. And you might not be able to, or it might be very fuzzy or faint.
All right, I'm bringing it back to the scene right now in front of me.
All right. And if there's any emotional intensity to
No.
that image now.
No, there's none.
So
It's a 5.
Oh, there must be then if you're giving it a 5.
It's a 5, and I'd like to take it down to a 0 or a 1.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Okay, so rather than take the time to do this repeatedly,
Yes.
what you do is we'll repeat this. We'll put it off to the side again.
Yes.
I'll have you blink for 2 minutes again, and then see if you can find that emotional image and put it back in the center screen. And if you can, what is the emotional charge on that numerically, if any?
All right.
Or maybe there have been a lot of people who simply can't find the image anymore.
Yes. All
It's
right.
become a 0. So
Okay.
you said you wanted a 1, and maybe we'll have to do this a third time.
Well, let's just see.
Well, I thought we wouldn't take the time on the program to
Do it a third time.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
you're
you want
going
to do it
a
again right
second
now?
time. All right, ready?
Sure, you can start blinking now.
And be sure to remember to say 1 minute when 1 minute is up. All right, here we go.
Okay, that's 1 minute. Okay, that's 2 minutes. You can stop blinking now.
All right.
And can you find the image at all?
No, it's a 0. I can't find it. I have no feeling, and I have no visuals at all around it.
Well, that is wonderful. I'm
Thank
so happy.
Thank you so
and
much.
so pay attention to what happens in your life and in your relationships with other people, and maybe with people who you have issues with or other traumas, because what happens is this actually has a broader effect than just a highly focused effect. So,
Yes, and remember, Jim, when we were practicing this a few weeks ago, afterwards I just had a huge outpouring of energy, and also lots of creative ideas came to mind. I started composing songs and singing them at the top of my voice and dancing around the house. I was having such a wonderful time, and all of that was very surprising. So this
Okay.
is the second one. Also takes 2 minutes, and this project is one of Raymond Grace's stories, probably his most well-known one. And this is Playing with Archetypes. The name of this one is The Mother's Violent Boyfriend. This story has some violence in it, so brace yourself when I come to the part of the story, which will come up very quickly, and I say, the boyfriend came into the kitchen. The boyfriend came into the kitchen. That's when realize there's going to be a brief little violent scene.
well, so in this day and age, people say, beware, there will be triggers.
Yes, right. But probably not for you. So this is a story that Raymond tells which illustrates the power of playing with archetypes. Now, an archetype, in this case, is going to be a paper doll silhouette that you create in your mind of the person who is the aggressor. You do this process, as we said, without any anger, resentment, or vengeance. You are completely neutral. One day, after Raymond had taught a large workshop of a few hundred people, and everyone was dispersing to go home, a woman came up to him and asked for his help on a trauma that happened to her 41 years before, causing insomnia, anxiety, and exhaustion ever since. This is what she told him. I am now 47 years old, so I haven't slept for 41 years. When I was 6 years old, my mother had a live-in boyfriend. Now, one morning, as I came into the kitchen at 6 years old, she told Raymond, she was wearing a pair of white cotton underpants. The boyfriend then came into the kitchen from another door. Before she knew it, the boyfriend ran toward the little girl, snatched her up in the air, yanked down her pants, and set her on top of a hot stove burner, which burned her flesh. She screamed and was sent to the hospital in an ambulance. Ever since then, she had not slept, as we said, for a full night in 41 years, and is now 47 years old. She's been afraid of men. She has had rancor toward her mother's boyfriend, and she has thick, ropey, keloid scars on her bottom. She has seen countless doctors, therapists, hypnotists, and psychiatrists, all to no avail. Raymond assured her that he would start working on this project immediately, and that in 30 days she should call him and report everything that she noticed, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and socially, and that she should start every night keeping track of how well she slept. 30 days later, the woman called Raymond and thanked him profusely. She said, "Oh, Raymond, you won't believe what happened. I began to have sound sleep every single night for 30 nights, and I have awakened refreshed and happy." Now, further, she said that she had no rancor whatsoever toward her mother's boyfriend, who had since died. So this works whether the person is in the body or on the other side. Finally, she told Raymond that the thick keloid scars that were about a half an inch high on her bottom had totally disappeared, and that her skin was soft and normal looking. She's no longer afraid of men, and she felt that she's ready to go out for coffee or lunch with a man if someone invited her. She now has self-confidence, great gratitude, and feels very, very happy. Now then, the 30-day follow-up questions for a client are, when you have processed them, be sure to ask them how they're different on all levels, as we said, spiritually, physically, mentally, socially, and emotionally. Raymond told the woman how he had made a paper doll silhouette or outline or archetype of the boyfriend and imagined the scene. When the little girl was being approached by the boyfriend, who was about to reach out and scoop her up in the air, Raymond took out his Bowie knife that was about 9 inches long and 2.5 inches wide, and he ran it right through the stomach of the paper archetype. Now, this is not voodoo. You cannot hurt someone, and you don't need to have any emotions tied to it. You are just simply imagining you're putting a knife or a sword through a piece of paper. That's all, and it cuts the ties that have bound you for a very long time. The boyfriend paper doll then crumpled to the floor helpless. Then, for good measure, if you wanted to, you could chop up the paper pieces and then sweep them all into a special bag and then toss the bag up into the sky where it disappears altogether. So when you actually use this on yourself, which you can, or have someone process you, or you process someone else, imagine the scene and imagine right before something traumatic is about to happen. When I was being processed in blinking with the violent teacher, I imagined the teacher's hand and arm above my head holding a heavy yardstick. Right. And then went into action with the blinking. In this case, if someone were accosted by another person, or let's say there is a car wreck and two cars are about to collide, right before then, you can imagine that you have made an archetype of a car, and then you can run your knife or sword through the car.
Basically an imaginary picture,
right,
like a paper doll picture.
A silhouette, right.
A silhouette of the car. It's
right.
Just that it's not, it doesn't look completely real because it's flat.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
The next 2-minute trauma clearing is called crushing the bully on the trampoline. Now then, Jim, I'd like to have you close your eyes just for a moment and imagine someone who was a bully in your life. Can you get that in mind?
Yes, not a problem.
All right, good. And what numeric value would you give to this particular project?
Well, because it's a fair time in the past and I'm not dealing with any authority figures right now in my life, I will say it's probably only an 8.
An 8, all right. So it's been higher before.
Oh, yeah. If I'm dealing with authority figures,
Okay.
this would go up.
All right, great. So crushing the bully on the trampoline means that I would like you to imagine you are on a large trampoline and there is a very large pastel drawing of the bully on the bottom of the trampoline. And that as you bounce
You
up...
mean facing horizontal on the trampoline?
Yes, horizontal.
Or vertical,
It's
like me?
No, it's horizontal on the trampoline, and your feet will be erasing the pastel image as you jump up and down. Thank you for the clarification. So can you see that now? You see his picture in chalk on the floor of the trampoline, and you're going to just jump up and down on the trampoline, about 1 jump per second, all right?
Okay. Am I going to jump on top of the image of the
Yes, the
person?
bully. Right. So jump up and down for 2 minutes, and I'll tell you when a minute is up, and then 2 minutes. And at the end of the time, you can tell me when the image of the bully is totally obliterated. There's no more chalk drawing. All right?
So everybody who's watching can do this same thing. You can get a bully in your life in mind. You can imagine yourself on a trampoline. You can imagine the picture of the bully being horizontal on the trampoline under your feet, and you're about to jump up and down on the picture of the bully.
Right. And this can be a trusted adult, a teacher. It can be a coach.
Could be a parent.
A parent, a minister, a priest, a nun.
A brother, a sister.
Yes, exactly. An older sibling. Or anyone. It could be a policeman.
Or a bully who's a younger sibling.
Exactly right. Or it could be a doctor or a dentist, but someone that caused you difficulty because of their bullying. All right, you have that in mind?
I do.
Ready. All right, now in your mind, I'd like to have you jump up and down just very steadily for 2 minutes, and I will time you.
Okay, I'm going to jump on the bully.
Right.
I'm just jumping up and down on the trampoline with the bully under my feet.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to move kind of up and down over the bully, so sometimes I'm
Yes.
bouncing on his head and sometimes
Yes.
I'm bouncing on his legs.
Yes, that's right. Ready,
Okay.
go. All right, begin. That's good, Jim. Keep bouncing. That's 1 minute. Good, 2 minutes. All right, now when you're ready, open your eyes and tell me how it felt when you were doing that and what you noticed as you were bouncing up and down.
Well, I felt alternating guilt and joy. between when I was doing it.
And the guilt because you shouldn't.
Well, you shouldn't be obliterating and hurting people.
Right, exactly. But you knew that this was not going to hurt him in any way. It was just the image that was going to be obliterated. And so, as you finished up, what did you notice as you looked down on the floor of the trampoline?
Well, I had bounced him right through the mesh of the trampoline, and he was in itty-bitty tiny pieces that you could barely, they were like confetti, and there was nothing of him left.
And so you did a thorough job so that you won't have to do this again.
That's right.
Good. Well, excellent. Now, how do you feel? Do you feel, for example, relieved, or you said you felt a little guilt initially, but now?
We'll have to see. I feel good.
All right.
I feel good.
Are you willing to tell me at the end of the day how you feel, and then
Yes.
also a week from now and a month from now?
Yep.
Thank you. All right. You can open your eyes now.
Okay.
All right. Now, we're going to talk about the various uses for blinking and crushing the bully and also playing with archetypes. So we have a chart on this.
Do we? I have general instructions.
All right. Let's go to, why don't you...
That's the last chart that I've got, actually.
That's fine. Let's just say that some of the potential results, which you're going to be sharing with me, Jim, and other people if you wish.
In the future.
In the future, right. The potential results for trauma clearing could be increased creativity, stronger self-esteem, forgiveness of yourself and others, new courage, and even erasure of scars or marks. Now then, Jim, would you like to read that chart?
Sure. So after an hour, and then maybe after about a week, and then 30 days or so later, you want to check on how things have gone as a result of this particular clearing that you did. So see if you can recall the beginning and ending intensity numbers, what the emotional intensity was, and notice how you're different, or how the score or the image, the screen, has changed or vanished, lost its hold on you, and be very specific. You can expect that it will have lost its hold on you, and you're likely to notice that you're feeling a lot freer. Notice how the clearing has led to broader changes in your life, like I mentioned earlier, particularly with relationships of all kinds. Check with the person who helped you, or with others you're close to, about any changes they may have noticed in how you are, in your general life, and in maybe specific areas that you think the situation you were clearing might have been affecting. Does the person or the memory have any hold on you at all 30 days later? If there's even a small amount, you can repeat the process, whether it is the blinking process, or using the sword and the paper image, or using the stomping down the bully process. You can use any one of those, again, if you need to.
Thank you, Jim. All right, now, Masters of Light slideshow is next.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing the Masters once again. And by now, many of you are very, very familiar with them, and you have realized that they've been with you during the entire time of this program, and sometimes before and often after this program. Now we're going to launch into gazing with Connie and myself. So why don't you put your feet flat on the floor, unless you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, which is just fine. Feet flat on the floor, hands face up in your lap in a receptive position. And take a moment to get clearly into mind 2 or 3 things that you'd like to bring into your life that would make your life better, or that you would like to have leave your life to make your life better. You can do that same thing with another person as well, and it can be very powerful. Now, when you're gazing, just look into our eyes with a soft, almost unfocused look. There's no need to stare or to try to transfer any energy. And while you're doing gazing with us, allow your mind to become empty of thoughts. Let your thinking stop. Let it all drain out so there's no thinking going on. And I know this can be difficult for many of us. And so you may notice yourself having thoughts again, and just empty your mind once more. It's just fine. Before gazing, we always do a breathing process, a breathing and visualization process, actually, 3 different times. Repetition of 3 times. So let's together all breathe in deeply, raise your shoulders up towards your ears. Now breathe out, big breath out. Imagine your consciousness dropping into your heart center, right in the center of your chest. And notice how it feels right at the end of that out breath as your consciousness reaches your heart center. It's at that point that you are making a connection with all that is. And you're making a connection with certain special people in your life, perhaps the person for whom you are wanting some change, positive change to happen. So let's do this again. Let's raise your shoulders up towards your ears as you breathe in deeply. Then big breath out, consciousness down into your heart center, noticing that special feeling as your consciousness reaches your heart. 3rd time, breathe in deeply, consciousness down in your heart center as you breathe out. Now imagine your heart center opening out and the energy of your heart going out into the universe, connecting with all that is. It could be a wafty, pink, veil-like substance. It could be any kind of energy that you can think of that represents the love of your heart expanding out into the universe. Okay, and now bring it back into your heart. Open your eyes.
And this,
go ahead, Connie.
this will take about 5 minutes.
And begin gazing.
this might be a good time for you to jot down some of the things that happen during gazing. That is, noticing particular members of the angelic host or saints, east and west, in the room with you. Or perhaps you had an insight, or you heard a voice speaking to you, or you were told that you were being given a gift of the Spirit. Perhaps you had some pain that has vanished. If you decide to, you can write us your experiences at info, I-N-F-O, at connieshaw.com, CONNIESHAW.com, info@connieshaw.com. But we're not requiring anything of anyone. So you don't have to do that. But if you would like to let other people know what's possible and how you were blessed, that's fine. And we read every single report. Now then, we're going to go over the trauma clearing highlights for the program. And Jim is going to read those so that we, first of all, told you what we would teach you. Secondly, we did it and demonstrated it in a number of ways. And then thirdly, we're now telling you what we shared with you.
So we gave you our disclaimer that this is an educational program. We did the blinking clearing with the violent teacher. We did the crushing the bully technique with the image flat on the trampoline and bouncing up and down on the bully.
And did you say we played with archetypes?
We played with archetypes, and the archetype that was that Connie used, she told the story about the little girl and turning her into archetype, and Raymond Grace using his Bowie knife with the archetype. And then we did the questions following the clearing process and cautions for best results, meaning don't do this too much. Do one or two and then let it settle and sink in, but do practice your clearing techniques. And then doing a follow-up, a 30-day follow-up, a 1-hour follow-up, a 1-week follow-up, a 30-day follow-up. And if you're the person that's helping someone do a clearing, then you can follow up with them. Or if you're clearing yourself, just make a tickler note on your calendar somehow so that you do your own follow-up and note what the results were. So then we did the Masters of Light slideshow. And
now we're doing the review, and we just finished the review.
Right.
So thank you, Jim.
Okay.
All right. We would like to give our heartiest thanks to you for coming, most of all to our beloved Lord, and to the angelic host, and to the saints and masters east and west for all of their continual love, help, blessings, and encouragement that they have been providing continually for 13 years. Again, it's been our pleasure to serve you in this way, and we will now say farewell. Thank you, God bless you, and we look forward to the next time that we're together. Namaste, Sairam, farewell.